everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do the ball joint on the impressor. Let's see how that one goes. Fingers crossed. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Here you got your ball joint. You can see it's been split there. So we got one bolt there and one bolt here at the bottom. And I know some people do it that way, I don't. You can remove the drop links. Let me see if I can leave that there. Yeah. So you can remove the drop links so there's no tension between the arm and the anti-roll bar, so you can push this down. Now, here in the UK, as you can see, everything fucking gets corroded. So what I do is, instead of doing that, I take this bracket off here, so then I can move my anti-roll bar from here, leave it loose, and then that gives me a bit of a movement in there without having to break this, because 90% sure that's gonna get rounded and I'm not gonna be able to do it, since it happens already on the other side. As you can see, I got two different drop links. We've got 1, 2 and 3 14 mil. That one is 12. So let's get them out. I already started them. Once we got them out, what we need to do now is, I don't know if you can see them there, we need to get that one out, that one down the top, and then we will have a bit of a free play. Now, to remove that other bolt that is here, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to remove this so I can get this out of the way, because it's right here. I can try to mess around with getting it on the other side and all that, but I'd rather do it this way. I got a few clips just in case this one break, so which seems is coming out just fine. There we go, that's out. So now we can move this a bit out of the way. As you can see, we can have a bit more space down here. The other one that I remove is just right here, which is a which one is it now? This one. It's a 13 mil. So now if you pull this down, you see we're gonna have a lot more room to be able to get to that bolt there. One thing I forgot to mention is, when you take this 12 off, just leave it there. Leave it loose, but leave it there, because once you start taking this one out, you're going to put all the pressure on that bolt if you got nothing here to hold the bracket, and you can fuck the thread by that. So yeah, so just be careful. Now that this side is loose, let's do the other one. Step is going to be removing this pin down there. Okay, so we're going to take that off, and then we're going to be able to crack this nut off, and then we go just one bolt there. Well, it's not going to be as easy as I thought. So we're going to have to drill that and get one of those drill bits, remove tool kit, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, and then I just bought a new bolt. It should be here in a day or two. So I suppose that we're going to have to push that back a bit. Here is a bolt. So what we're going to do is get right bang on in the center punch that, drill it, drill a hole in there, just a tiny bit smaller than our actual extractor bolt, and we go from there. time. So the way that I did it is I looked for the center of the bolt as best as I could, then drill a small hole with a small drill bit, then going size bigger or a couple of sizes bigger, and then keep on going up until you reach the one that you want. But just take your time, keep on lubricating it, be careful with your drill bits that they don't get too hot. Just take your time. It's a tedious job and we're not in the clear yet, so let's keep on grinding but taking it easy. What I'm gonna do now is use a bit of fire. What I'm gonna do now is just heat it up a bit. Since, as we know, these are stuck in there, so I'm going to apply some heat to the actual bolt on the other side, but since I don't want to burn my CV boot, I mean that would be another fucking nightmare, I got this metal plate there to hopefully prevent a bit of that heat going towards our CV boot. So let's do that. Maybe what we should do is remove this rubber before we keep getting it on fire. Let's do a bit of a recap. As you can see, the hole is quite deep, and I would say that is really quite central. So I'm really happy with that. I mean, as I said, that doesn't guarantee us that it's going to come off, but at least we're giving the best of our chances. So let's just carry on drilling a bit more. Maybe we have to be going into a bigger size just so we can actually use our extractor bolt, see if it fits there or not, and let's see what happens. What I'm doing at the minute is making a hole, smaller hole on this side, just to try to weaken the bolt, just to give us the best chance to actually be able to extract the bolt. And hopefully we don't have to retap it, or I'm not putting an atom bolt. I'm not doing that. I want to do it OEM, so it might take a bit longer, but this is what we are at the minute. After drilling the bolt from one side to another to make a hole, I try to use the extractor bolt. Apply a bit of a heat as well before. I put the extractor bolt there, started turning, and then it just snapped inside. Now what we're going to attempt to do is use the diamond tip drill bits to try to crack a bolt with a breaker bar, which we managed to do. We cracked the shit out of it. Then we tried to drill a hole, which was going all well, until I tried to use the extractor bolt, which it broke inside the knuckle. After that, we went through a couple of diamond tip drill bits, so you can see, and from there we went to these carbide tip drill bits, okay, or whatever you want to call them. All right, so if you're going to be doing this, the diamond drill bits, as you can see, they are coated, okay. They do work when you're drilling the extractor bolt, but they take ages, and as you can see, I've already been through a few of them. Now the carbide burrs are a bit better because, as you can see, it's all, well, carbon basically, but yes, these ones are a lot better. They do work faster. You just have to be careful because the actual knuckle metal is a lot weaker than the actual extractor bolt, so you can make incisions with that if you're not careful. Now what we're going to be doing, since unfortunately drilling with those bits in situ is not an option, as you can see I've been struggling to do it, we're going to get the knuckle out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Then we're going to bring it here and we're going to drill it here. We're going to use this knuckle as our tester. Since it's the first time I'm doing it, like everyone, you know, you make mistakes, so I might actually make an incision on the knuckle and then it won't be any good for the new bolt anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a new knuckle, a new ABS sensor, and a new wheel bearing, because the other 3 wheel bearings on this car, or I think 2 of the wheel bearings of this car, they are brand new. So might as well, since I'm getting the knuckle, I'll show you how to do that. And the ABS is just in case, because I know they are fuckers to get out, and if that one breaks, then we are in another issue and we have to wait longer to get it. So once the parts are here, which hopefully they should be here today, we'll remove the knuckle and we fit everything new, and then we can have a go with the other one and see how hard it would have been if we would have done that from the beginning. I know it might not sound like the best idea, and I know a bunch of you might think that I'm spending a lot of money on that, which maybe if we would have taken somewhere else, they could have done it for me and it would be just a ball joint. Well, the parts that I bought for this car, to be honest, they're not expensive. They are OEM as well. As I said, I like to try and error. And yes, they are my cars, and if there's something big, major, I will take it where I know they can fix it for me and they can store it if they need to and whatever. But this is something that we can do. And as I said, well, the ball joint on the other side came out perfectly last Christmas. It was not that hard to do. This one, unfortunately, it is. Well, we get new parts, we fit them, and we're good to go. To remove our knuckle, what we're going to have to do is remove our caliper first. So we got a 14 there and a 14 at the bottom. So let's do that. Once we remove the caliper, we have the carrier here and the pads that we're going to be removing as well. What I like doing is hooking this up where the shock absorber is, so we're not kinking the pipe. It's nice and has a nice bend. Just put it there, put it out of the way. Now let's get this off. With the caliper carrier, I did say before that you have to remove it, but you don't have to, because it comes with a knuckle and we're going to be replacing the knuckle, so that's okay. So what we got here is a 19 millimeter nut, which is for our tie rod end. I'll clean all that shit up, don't you worry. It's not leaking, it just when I got it down, the seal moved, so I'm just gonna pop it up and that should be okay. Next, we need to disconnect our ABS wheel speed sensor, or whatever you want to call it, which is down there. So let's get that one out. I put the ABS sensor out of the way so it doesn't bother us. I'm quite surprised actually. It's a 10 millimeter bolt there, and I'm quite surprised that it actually came off, because normally they get stuck like C's just right here, and then they just break inside the actual hole. So I'm really happy with that. Now what we need to do basically is undo that one there, which is pretty loose anyway, and what we're gonna do after that is mark here, see if I can get it, mark them. So do a mark on the bolt and a mark on the actual shock absorber, top and bottom, so then when we get them out, we know exactly where they go back because of the camber. We don't want to alter that, so we're gonna have to be really careful with this. Sometimes it's a bit of a nightmare to get the arm out of the ball joint, just like I did, if like my one got stuck in there. So what I do is jack it up, make sure the disc is secure, jack it up from the disc until it gets straight, put something like this, anything you go that's going to be quite strong, in between the pinch bolt and the arm, just here in between, jack it up and then release it fast, and that will crack it. So now we got that off, we can remove our bolt from the shock absorber, and well, first remove the nut in the middle for the axle, push that back a bit, take that off, and we should be able to get the knuckle out. And here we go, our knuckle. Now we need to remove them to be able to fit it in the new knuckle and the new wheel bearing, because this holds the wheel bearing on the hub, as you can see there. Okay, and this back plate as well that we're gonna need it. So let's get that done. To remove the wheel bearing from the knuckle, after you took the bolts, I mean, many people, what they do sometimes is they actually hammer in situ, but I don't like doing that. So what I did is, if you got a vise or somewhere where you can put it, you can hold it so you don't bend the plate. And just, to be honest, what I did, it was just hammer it here in the middle on the actual wheel bearing, and it will separate, because the actual wheel bearing sits here, as you can see on that lip there, right? So it sits right there, so it gets rusty and just gets attached there. So if you hammer it from here, if you go somewhere that you can put it there, there's a space at the bottom, so the actual wheel bearing will come off, will drop after a few hits. That's it. What I'm gonna do now is clean these plates and just give it a quick spray both sides, so it stops from, you know, rusting a bit like it's there. And that will be it. Alright, we got here the plate that we painted, which is quick spray. The 4 bolts that I'm going to clean in a minute. The new knuckle, as you can see, and the new wheel bearing. Now, when you fit your wheel bearing, don't worry about it, because it only has one way to go in. As you can see, the profile is thicker at the bottom, so these 2 holes here are closer, like them, and these 2 are further apart. So don't worry about thinking that you're going to put it on the wrong way, because it's only one way to go in. Okay, let's clean the bolts out first, and then we assemble the whole thing. The way that we're going to mount this is basically, we got the wheel bearing there, we put a plate which the holes are lining up, so you can see. Okay, and now we're going to get the knuckle, we just put on top there. Yep, and now we just put our bolts easily. I'm going to start doing it with the ratchet first, and then we can torque them. Once it's assembled, what we need to do is torque them to 65 Newton meters. Once that's nice and torqued, what we're going to do is get a ball joint. Should be nice and easy to get in. So we put it in there, and now we're going to put a pinch bolt in here so we can hold it in place. Since this is done, we're going to take it to the car, we're going to mount it, and then we're going to put our disc, and then we can put a caliper carrier and everything else. We are ready now to fit everything back on. So what we're going to do is cut these cable ties. So get this down, probably rest it on here, get it through the hole there, and then put the bolts up here loose, so just we can hold it in place and start fitting everything else. So we got it through the hub. We put our bolts just there at the minute, and as you can see, if I move my leg, the ball joint is in. Okay, what we're gonna do now is put this one back in, and then we can start assembling the rest. We got a new nut as well. Whichever time that you take it out, you should replace it anyway. So we got that in there now. So I'll put that in. Let's put this one in as well. That's there. Once we go more or less everything in, we're gonna start tightening everything. Okay. I went ahead and put the caliper back on, the pads, everything, the ABS sensor, everything is nice and torqued. As you can see, we managed to keep those in line, so we should be good. And what we're going to do now is fit all the bolts and that we got left. Basically, we need to put back our anti-roll bar, so let's put that back on. I put the clips as well back on. I put the under tray back on as well. Put the wheel, as you can see. I took the center cap off. So now we're gonna get the car down on the ground, and then we can torque this, and then we will torque the wheels, and then we can put the center cap back on, and that should be it, I think. Car's on the floor, wheels are torqued, the new nut is torqued as well. And remember just to tap it in here, just as an extra safety, as you can see there. Once everything is torqued, just the final touch now. And just like that, everything is now torqued, the car is on the floor, everything is done. But I've got shitloads of things now to clean. The garage is a mess. So instead of showing you that, I'm going to leave it with something a bit better. We are our typical spot. Just went for a road test, see how the car was doing, and as you can imagine, or you can hope, the car is doing great. Everything is fixed, no noises, nothing seems to be loose. So I'm very happy with that. It's been a good 2-3 weeks since, between work and trying to get the car done and stuff like that. So it's been a good 2 or 3 weeks since I've driven the car, so I couldn't wait any longer. And as I said, I'm over the moon with it. It was a tedious job. Oh look, we got some sheep. Hello to you too. So if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you do, and I will see you very shortly.